It's that time of year again. You can smell it in the air. I'm not talking about the fresh smell of spring flowers. I'm not talking about the smell of chlorine in my backyard as my pool works overtime to fight this humidity. I'm not talking about new car smell. Spring, summertime, that's typically the time of year people decide to buy new cars. All of those smells, they pale in comparison to the aroma that emerges every year at this time. I'm talking, of course, about the pungent mouth farts escaping from the WNBA dump. Typically, winter and spring are quiet months in the dump. The smell is not as strong. The dump shuts down for yearly maintenance. Dump divers take extended vacations to motels you can rent by the hour. If you believe the narrative pushed by WNBA dump divers, they don't make enough money to be able to afford a full night at the Unknown Star Motel. They've got to pay by the hour and hope they don't oversleep. This is the time of year when the complaints start coming out of the WNBA. We have not even reached the regular season. I believe we're still 2 weeks away. And WNBA players are already complaining about living conditions in the dump. There's just no pleasing this group of special women and the other group of dump divers, women who want to be men. Don't you worry, Bobby G. I was not going to exclude you. KC is all about inclusion. Right now, WNBA teams, they are going through the process of finalizing their roster. For most coaches and general managers, this is the most difficult part of their job. I can certainly understand why. It's hard to find good help. Not everyone has what it takes to be an effective trash engineer, or what normal people like to call a garbage man. General managers, they spend weeks during the preseason and training camp determining which of these lucky ladies will qualify for woke welfare. There are all sorts of things to consider here. For example, arm strength. Potential dump divers, they must possess the strength to pick up heavy bags of trash and place them into the back of the garbage truck. Stamina. Some of these garbage routes, especially in major cities like New York, some of these garbage routes can be long. You got to have the conditioning to put in a full 10-hour day. Then you have the employees processing the trash at the facility. These employees, they cannot have facial hair. It's a liability issue. You can't have anything flammable next to the incinerator. Obviously, that automatically disqualifies Bob Griner. But you get the point. There are all kinds of factors that general managers must consider when determining who will make the roster. Unfortunately, not everyone has what it takes. This is the time of year when young women who have dreamed of becoming men receive that dreaded letter in their locker. The Seattle shitfucks regret to inform you were not masculine enough to make the team. This year, the competition was unusually stiff, emphasis on the stiff. We need women with large propellers. Yours was too small. We need women with thick beards for games that go into overtime. Your stubble just wasn't enough. But don't feel discouraged. We are giving you this complimentary bottle of Just for Men, along with a tube of Preparation H. Cure that butt bongo hangover with the Prep H. Apply Just for Men, and I am sure you'll be collecting woke welfare by this time next season. This part of the process is inevitable. Happens every year in the NFL, happens every October in the NBA, happens in Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, the NHL, happens in all sports. It's called capitalism. The best of the best make the team, the others go back to the minor leagues. Or, in the case of potential WNBA prospects, they return to the janitorial services department at Walmart. When roster cuts happen in other sports, we never hear complaints about it. We don't see NFL players petitioning the league to increase roster sizes. We don't see NBA players pushing Adam Silver for expansion so everyone has the opportunity to play in the NBA. That's equity. There are no complaints. That's not the case in the WNBA, though. No! Do you guys remember Natasha Cloud? Don't feel bad if you don't. Been a while since we have highlighted this particular trash collector here on the channel. Natasha Cloud, she is one of the leaders of the Washington Woke. She is a self-described superstar. In keeping with WNBA tradition, Tosh is complaining about roster cuts. This is so unfair! All of these women are entitled to collect woke welfare. The league must fix this problem immediately. Don't worry, Kathy Engelfart. I have the solution. The WNBA must expand. We need to add dumps to every major city in America. What? Expansion? Expansion? Are we really talking about expansion again? How many times do I have to prove the WNBA is in absolutely no position to expand? Now, in fairness to Kathy Engelbert, Casey, who in the hell is Kathy Engelbert? My bad, that was a poor assumption on my part. I was assuming that most of you were able to identify the diva of all dump divas. Kathy Engelbert is the commissioner of the WNBA. Now, in fairness to her, she admits the WNBA is still 2, maybe 4 years away from expansion. I think that's being generous. I was kind of hoping the WNBA was 2 to 4 days away from extinction. Expansion is so far from being a reality at this point, but that does not stop WNBA players from doing what they do best: complaining. They are once again pressuring the league to expand. I have an idea. Since Natasha Cloud has dreams of being a politician, how about she gives up her roster spot, along with her $200,000 in annual salary of woke welfare? How about she gives all that up to a player who was recently cut? That way, everybody wins. We have a new person benefiting from woke welfare, and the rest of us will no longer be exposed to the toxic mouth farts of Natasha Cloud. Now, the incident that sparked this complaint was Emily Ingsler getting cut by the Indiana Irritables. The Washington Woke also joined the party by cutting Avina Westbrook and Alicia Jenkins. Who, and who? Hell if I know. I've never heard of these ladies either. Judging by their names, they look like they came from the roster of maids responsible for cleaning the building. Emily Ingsler, she was the 4th pick in last year's WNBA draft. Now, there are concerns throughout the league that limited roster spots are preventing super talented women from being able to display their skills to the dozens of people watching the WNBA. James Wade is the general manager for the dump located in Chicago. Yesterday, he was interviewed by the Chicago Sun-Times. James Wade said, "I would love to see expansion, but limiting roster spots, that's not a bad thing. It makes the WNBA the most prestigious league in the world. It is not a birthright to work in this dump. It's a privilege." Did I just read that correctly? I had to check this 3, maybe 4 times. I could not believe what I was seeing. I could not believe I was seeing those words on my screen. The WNBA, the most prestigious league in the world? Prestige is defined as inspiring respect and admiration, having high status. Someone please tell me how that applies to the WNBA. I also find this push for expansion, especially because it's coming from WNBA players, I find this ironic. What is one of the biggest complaints amongst WNBA players? Well, KC, they complain about everything. There's too many to keep up with. Yeah, that's true, but one of their biggest complaints is compensation. WNBA players constantly complaining about their salaries. Just last week, Bobby Griner was complaining about not having enough money to pay her power bill. Poor Bobby and her wife, they have had to ration their power usage. They're only able to charge their battery-powered cucumber 1 day every week. Needless to say, the action in the Griner cardboard box has come to a complete halt. But anyway, WNBA players constantly complaining about money. If the WNBA were to expand, guess what would happen to salaries? They would decrease. The WNBA is set up on a revenue sharing system. The league shares, I think it's 20% of its revenue with the players. If you add 1, maybe 2 more teams, that's an additional 26 to 30 players. They are going to eat into that revenue split. But KC, those additional teams would generate more revenue. That's no guarantee. Matter of fact, it is highly, highly unlikely to happen. Right now, the WNBA is boasting about their growth. We're breaking records! We generated $180 million in revenue last season. This season, we are projecting $200 million. America is falling in love with consuming trash. Those numbers are highly misleading. For one, the WNBA doesn't mention the most important thing: profit. How much profit are you generating? If I had to guess, that number would be 0. If the WNBA were actually making money, I promise you, we would know about it. A sizable portion of that revenue, it's not coming from the WNBA, and when I say a sizable portion, I mean almost all of it. 2019, the WNBA generated $60 million in revenue. Now, where did that additional $120 million come from in just 3 years? Well, KC, it's obvious. The WNBA is surging in popularity. Games are selling out. Merch is being sold. Ratings are through the roof. Actually, that's not the case. Last season, the WNBA actually did break a record low attendance. The 2022 season, least attended in the history of the league. With attendance down and revenue dramatically up, where did that money come from? Sympathetic sponsors. It was sympathy money. Woke corporations feeling guilty about their white privilege, donating money to a charity with absolutely no expectation for receiving a return on their investment. Here's the problem with that approach. It's unsustainable. Eventually, the sympathy runs out. WNBA players, they are also pushing for a 50-50 revenue split. The NBA shares 50% of their revenue with players. How come the WNBA is not doing the same thing? It's because we're women. It's misogyny, damn it! I happen to agree with part of this sentiment. I would love to see the WNBA split revenue 50-50 with the players. The reason the NBA can do this, they have billions of dollars to share. The WNBA, they have yet to generate a peso. But please, split revenue evenly with the players. Because if that happens, the WNBA would cease to exist. WNBA players, they complain so much, they don't even realize they are complaining and pushing for their own demise. But let me get out of here. I've got a busy night tonight. Give me your thoughts. The WNBA season hasn't even started, and the complaints are already coming out in full force. Can anyone give me a legitimate reason for WNBA expansion? How long will it take for WNBA players to begin complaining about air travel this season? With the start of the season being, about 2 weeks away? I say 2 weeks. You let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.